Everybody knows a teddy bear. I want to talk to you a little bit about the history of the teddy bear and why I love them so much. We're coming up to Valentine's Day, and teddy bears are associated with Valentine's Day. We love to give what we call a stuffed animal and chocolate. And a group of teddy bears, by the way, is called a hug. So that has something to do with Valentine's Day too. You can see that an animal is stuffed with something called Excelsior. These are all antique teddy bears. They're stuffed with Excelsior and made with mohair. These little ones down in the front that you're looking at, and along with the one in my hand, is a Steiff teddy bear. Lots of times people just call antique bears Steiffs, but that's not true. All different companies and manufacturers made them. And I'll give you a little bit of a history lesson about the teddy bear. The first teddy bear that was made looked a lot like this guy here, but this guy, who's in great condition and he has all his long mohair on him, he hasn't been hugged or played with too much. He's actually a replica of what we call the 1905 bear, the quintessential teddy bear. This is a 1905 Steiff in my hand. This guy was made in 1997 when teddy bear collecting sort of in the 90s became popular again. But the first teddy bears were from 1902 to about 1907. That's when they really entered the market. Teddy Roosevelt was our president. He had been down in Mississippi. And there's a lot of folklore around it, and there's a lot of different ways. I wasn't there, so I can only tell you what I've heard. But there was a border dispute between Louisiana and Mississippi. And during his time down there, people knew he was a big game hunter. And there's some people say the guides tied up a small cub. Some people say the cub was injured. But either way, Teddy was put in the position of being offered the chance to kill this cub, and he didn't. And Berryman was a political cartoonist at the time. Look at how worn this guy is. His mohair's all come off. This is the same exact bear, same pattern. This guy was played with a lot. And Berryman did a political cartoon of Teddy Roosevelt showing mercy and not killing this bear cub. And people sort of latched on to that idea. And there's a very industrious New York merchant named Morris Mitchum. He and his wife Rose had a shop in Brooklyn where they sold novelty and candy. Rose sewed a teddy bear. And they asked for permission to use Teddy's name with the bear. They wrote to the White House and they were given permission to use the name. About the same time, Steiff was already in existence. The company Steiff that we all know from Germany by this little button in the ear that we know is always on all Steiff animals. You can see the buttons there in their ears identifying it as Steiff. Steiff had been in business. It was a woman-owned business, started in about 1890. And they had been making different animals in Germany. And her nephew, Margaret Steiff's nephew, I believe his name was Richard, made a bear about the same time. So there's some dispute of whether or not the first teddy bear was done in Brooklyn, or did Steiff make the first bears? It doesn't really matter. What matters is that Americans and Germans alike embraced this idea of stuffed animals and began to even carry little bears in their pocket as a little, a fashion accessory. They had perfumes in them sometimes. They even had teddy bear purses. Of course, kids had teddy bears to play with, and they were the ultimate gift. And they just really, they blossomed on the market. Most of them looked just like this guy, which is a center seam and what they call a cone nose. And over time, these are English bears that I get at Huglets. I like to treat myself to a bear whenever I see one that I fall in love with. The more worn and loved, the better. Other companies started making teddy bears along with Steiff, and the Ideal Toy Company was the Brooklyn-based company. And people would get a teddy bear, and they were great toys for kids, but the fabric that they were made from really, really, really stood the test of time. But the more that got played with, the fabric fibers, which are from Angora goats, just wears off. And so you have here a group of teddy bears, my hug of teddy bears that I've collected since the 90s. It doesn't matter to me whether they're perfect or not. What I love is the facial expression and I love the fact that they were played with and loved. This bear here is an artist bear made by Pat Murphy, but it's made much in the tradition of the Steiff bears. And down here in the front, we have another artist bear from Ingrid Schmid, again, made much in the tradition with the cone nose of the Steiff bears. And they're sort of irresistible. They all have personalities. And I'm sure that whoever they belong to first would be happy that I'm taking care of them. I'm getting ready to go to London soon for the Huglets Teddy Bear Show. And I will walk the show watching for a face to really speak to me. This is my favorite little guy, and it's because of his face. Got lots of stories to tell. Old toys always do.